Okay, let's do a little mic check here, and then we'll get rolling. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, 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 Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare. Well, we'll just trust that it's probably working out. So let's just go right into it. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, 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 Hare Krishna, Krishna. All right, let's let a few people know that we're live here. Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama. All right, so the topic of our discussion is, what is God's body made of? It should be interesting. Okay. All right, let's get to it here. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Sri Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktivinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Sri Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktivinda Om Maganati Mirandasya Ganakara Sakya Chaksha Milatani Tasmi Shri Gurave Namaha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. All right, so let's read some of the verses here about this. This is a conversation between a Bengali poet here. This is in Chaitanya Charitamrita. I'm just going to read some select verses here. Anchalila, chapter 5, verse 122. So anyway, this is a conversation with the Bengali poet who he composed a verse for in glorifying Lord Jagannath. And everybody said, very good, because it sounded good from one point of view. It was glorifying Lord Jagannath. But Swarab Damodar, he understood all these intricate conclusions about, Ras and all that stuff. And he didn't like it, and he actually chastised the poet. And what he said and what he taught is very amazing, very interesting. It has to do what is basically the answers, what is the body of God made of? I don't think a lot of devotees really know this. And the acharyas have in many ways hidden the body of God because they didn't feel people were ready to respect the body of God. See, that's and I'll tell you why. We'll get more into this, how they've done that. And it all makes sense. Really. All right, so thank you for joining us. We have two viewers here. Okay. All right, so Swarab Damodar is he's chastising this Bengali poet. He says, at no time is there a distinction between the body and soul of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. His personal identity and his body are made of blissful spiritual energy. There is no distinction between them. Okay? So his personal identity and his body are made of blissful spiritual energy. There is no distinction between them. Okay? So the body. So he was talking about the body of the deity. So he's saying that the body of the deity is made of blissful spiritual energy. So when people go and they see the deity and become blissful, it's because the deity's body is made of bliss. See, there's no distinction between the body of the deity and this ecstatic bliss. So that's the point here. There's another level to understand this here. And Lord Chaitanya told his devotees that would come to see him, and they just naturally loved him. They would do all kinds of sacrifices just to meet the Lord for 4 months every year. And so when they came, there's a description here. Lord Chaitanya says, I'm a poor sannyasi and you take so much trouble to come see me. I'd like to, I have nothing to give you other than my body, so I give you my body, and now you can sell it anywhere, to who, as you please. See, so here we go. This kind of helps clarify what is God's body made of. How did he give his body to these devotees? Well, this is the great mystery and secret, because this body is just what it says. It's the personal identity and the body of God are made of blissful spiritual energy. Okay? So when you see a devotee in ecstasy, what are you seeing? Blissful spiritual energy. When you see a devotee laughing or crying or, experiencing transformations in the body, what are you seeing? Blissful spiritual energy. So what is that? That's the body of God. And this is, if people go against that, then when they see a devotee ecstatic, then they're actually going against the body of God. His identity is this blissful spiritual energy. See, and this is why the acharyas hid their ecstasies often, because people, they don't understand it, that it's actually the Supreme Lord. The Lord's body is made of blissful, ecstatic, spiritual energy. So they kind of would relish these things alone, or go off with another rasic devotee and then relish this alone, because people would misunderstand. It's like Srinivas, he was on the Yamuna in Vrindavan, and he's chanting his Guru's name. And he becomes totally ecstatic. All the devotional symptoms, crying, laughing, corpulations, shaking, shivering, choking of the voice, all these things were manifesting. And he's chanting his Guru's name. People thought he was crazy. See, actually, this is the body of God. So he's chanting his Guru's name. Now, another form of Krishna is Guru. If the person's actually a qualified Guru, an ecstatic devotee, then you will see this kind of ecstasy, and that you see this is actually the Lord has accepted that body of the devotee, just like the Lord accepts a flute. See, and it's him playing the flute. See, it's his flute, and he accepts this body, the flute, and he blows a beautiful song through it, the air. It's the Lord, it's coming through the flute. So how do you separate, that blissful song from the flute itself? You can't. It's all part of it. It's there, it's part of this blissful, eternal, spiritual energy. So the Lord gives his transcendental body. So in other words, and this is what Jesus did also for his disciples and for those who believe the testimony of his disciples who received the Holy Spirit. And now they're worshiping God, and the Lord's body manifests in their worship. See? How does it do it? It's this, they're worshiping the Lord, they're chanting the Lord's name, and what happens? Oh, the blissful ecstasy manifests. See, so the Lord has given the devotee their body. Now, devotional service makes the Lord's body present. I mean, that's just our constitutional position, is to do devotional service so that this ecstatic, blissful body of the Lord will manifest. See? So raganuga bhakti is basically for the devotees who are not opposed to the ecstatic body of the Lord that manifests in his confidential devotees that are from Vrindavan. If they happen to be here or something, and they're worshiping Krishna by chanting his name, and ecstasy arises. So raganuga bhakti are for those who like that. They say, oh wow, really? I'd like to worship like that too. See, but actually many devotees, most maybe, are opposed to that kind of, they don't believe that that's actually God, this ecstasy. I think it's Saj or something like this. See, so this is one of the obstacles. But those who are ready to be delivered, they are favorable and are called to the association of such devotees. Because deliverance basically means you worship the Lord in an ecstatic mood. Not just a pious mood. There are many pious demigods. They're still here in the material universe. They're pious. They worship God, they love the Lord in maybe different forms, but he's still pious and all of this, until the Lord gives his transcendental body to them. And they worship the Lord in ecstasy. Then they are very quickly transferred to the spiritual world, where everybody's like that. They just worship the Lord and they just become ecstatic. See, that's devotional service in a nutshell. Bhakti yoga. I love talking about this stuff. It just gets even more clear to me. It's like, whoa. Thank you, Lord, man. This is great. Wow. Thank you. This made it even more clear than it was. See, so that's the deal, man. Is so really. Then in this conversation, to help this Bengali poet, who basically was speculating on who God is and what God is, which is natural. If this ecstatic revelation of God is not given to you, you haven't received it in disciplic line, basically, okay, you haven't received it yet, then you could be a devotee and you're worshiping according to rules, regulations, and you study the Shastras and everything, but you really don't know who God is. Devananda Pandit in Chaitanya Bhagavat was a teacher of Bhagavatam. He had disciples, he was austere, he was a perfect Brahmin, all 12 medical qualifications and everything. He was humble, all humble as pie. But still, he didn't know what God's body was made of. See, because you can only know if you hear it from a devotee whose body of the Lord manifests in their worship. Only they know. Who else, So this guy's a perfect Brahmin. Will you think this is any different than now? There's so many gurus and teachers right now. They also, if they don't know what the body of God is, if they see ecstasy in a devotee, they often are against it, criticize it. Yeah, it's sahaja, or it's this or that, or all kinds of stuff. Devananda Pandit was like that. He was a great Brahmin, better than anybody around now. But he threw the body of the Lord was manifesting in the worship of Srivas. Hearing is one way that stimulates the body of the Lord to manifest. Ecstatic devotion. That's the personal identity of God. Yeah. So he's hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, even from a person who didn't even have devotion, but just because he heard the word spoken about Krishna, ecstatic. God's body started to manifest on his person. He started to cry or whatever. He doesn't say exactly what devotional symptoms, but the symptoms were happening. So Devananda Pandit didn't like it, didn't honor it, nothing, and the students dragged him out of the class. See? So we have to hear about God's body from devotees, because living devotees. Devananda Pandit was studying Srimad Bhagavatam and was a teacher, but he didn't obviously hear it from a self-realized soul. See? Because self-realized soul, the Lord has actually given his body and the revelation of so many amazing things that only they know, because it's the Lord that informs them, that ecstasy and the revelation that comes from it. Only, you can't, if you don't get ecstatic in your worship of the Lord and tears come, if you're not crying, at least crying when you're worshiping Krishna sometimes, you don't know diddly squat about God. You know how many gurus and teachers there are that don't cry? Or very rarely, maybe once in a 20 years, maybe. Maybe if they're thinking about something else. But, you know, there's many teachers in yoga, in Vaishnavism, in all religions. They never cry yet. See? And they're teachers. Well, they're not going to be very good teachers, because the best teachers are the ecstatic devotees who have an intimate relationship with the Lord. So Swarup Damodar said, go and hear Srimad Bhagavatam from a self-realized soul. And let's actually go and see what he says exactly. Oops. Before I get to this here. Krishna. Okay, he's going to get to it now. Okay, here we go. If you want, so this is, if you want to understand Srimad Bhagavatam, he said, you must approach a self-realized Vaishnava and hear from him. You can do this when you have completely taken shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya. Isn't that amazing? So a person that is really taking shelter of Lord Chaitanya, then they want to, the Lord will give them the association of his devotees. See, and then you hear these things because only they know, by experience. And they will tell you this. They will tell you just what Swarup Damodar said. You know, the body of the Lord is comprised of intense, ecstatic, devotional, spiritual energy. Yeah? So don't go against it. You see it. But see, unless you actually have been, blessed and favored with this revelation and experience of that blissful body of the Lord, then you cannot know, and nor can you teach it. There are many teachers that don't know this, and they're teaching. Okay? So those who are ready to be delivered will do that. The Lord will inspire them to go to a self-realized soul who has the experience of the Lord's transcendental body manifesting in their worship of Krishna. Okay? Or if you're a Christian in their worship of Jesus, and they become really ecstatic, you go to them and hear the revelations that come because of intimacy with God. Okay? And then, very quickly, it should say here, let's see if he gets into that. I think he actually does. Let's see. Yes. Swarup Damodar continued, associate regularly with the devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then only will you understand the waves of the ocean of nectarian devotional service. And let's go for word here. We'll understand, the way, okay, and it's not just the waves of, like Vaidhi Bhakti devotional service, the waves of ecstatic devotional service, because the Lord associates in the invisible with devotees who worship him in ecstasy. We may not see it with our eyes or the Lord with the eyes, but that symptoms of the Lord appearing is in the bodies of the devotees, even one devotee. So if you even see one devotee and you're favorable to the that kind of ecstatic worship, and you associate with that devotee, then you will understand by your own experience. You'll start to feel some bliss, and then more bliss, and it's like new qualities start to develop in you spontaneously. New abilities to let go of things that you could never let go of before. Yeah. New feelings of bliss and relationship with God, all by associating with devotees of Lord Chaitanya, who have an ecstatic relationship. Not a devotee in name only. See, name only. See, external devotee, just in name, but not internal devotee. Internal means you have an internal experience of the Lord's transcendental, ecstatic, blissful body. I mean, that Lord Chaitanya was that. His body was comprised of raging, ecstatic bliss and ecstasy and rapture of amazing proportions. So that's why devotees become intelligent worshippers of God, that really have gotten the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, make a beeline for Lord Chaitanya and worship him, because he is so juicy, man. Just he was the most expressive incarnation to express the full extent of his ecstasy. So it's really amazing. So you hear from devotees like that, and very quickly you will understand this internal experience of the Spirit, worshiping by the Spirit, will start to manifest in you. So that's the body of God in a nutshell. All right, so we'll end our little discourse here. All glories to Jesus and Srila Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya Nityananda and Radha and Krishna and all their associates. And all glories to our viewers who hear these confidential purports of Chaitanya Charitamrita.